and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Jennifer Kirk.
And I'm Dave Leese, and welcome to the Japan Open.
Konnichiwa! Ohayou gozaimasu! I don't remember the rest of my Japanese. Dave, watashi wa tomodachi desu, watashi wa chocolate desu. There we go.
Arigato.
Arigato. Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Well, it is the return of Mao Asada, Jenny. We've been waiting for it. I want to see a comeback that is stellar. When someone comes back and they're giving us, it's still early. No. When you come back ready to go. And that is what Mao Asada did here. She showed up. I think she intimidated everyone in practice from the looks of how everyone else skated, aside from Satoko Miyahara. It looks like Mao Asada really came to play in all of the practice sessions. She really stood up. She did have a little bit of a single loop moment. I thought of you during that triple flip combination, but I thought the rest of the program was so stellar and beautiful that you would forgive it. What were your thoughts on Mao?
I mean, to come out, you talk about a comeback, she came out with that triple axel backwards, bam, I'm back. And the great thing was she just seemed so nonplussed about everything. It was just, I've done this program a million times, I've competed a million times. But what I noticed about her is she's always been a gorgeous skater, really pretty to watch. But I feel like she's skating like a woman now. She seems a lot more mature on the ice, just the edges, the spiral at the end. And I like that she did miss the flip loop, and then she continues the program. She comes back, she did the Salchow, which has been her problem in the past. The Lutz, she got an exclamation point. I still think it's an E. I mean,
it's an improvement, Jenny.
It's an improvement per the caller, but in my eyes, it still looks like that's one area that she could...
Japan Open. She's paying bills here. Yuzuru Hanyu and Daisuke weren't skating, so it is Mao's event to win.
Right.
The axel was a slightly, maybe generous, depending on callers we'll see later in the season, but it was a very, very good attempt. It just looked like a little of a wobble on the landing.
She always has kind of that swinging feel. Like I thought her other triples looked really good. Nitpicky though, I don't love how when she skates into her triple flip, she does like this, both of her arms come back. It's a little bit of like she's setting up for the vault. Like I think of the gymnasts, like right before they start running down that vault. Yeah, but I mean, the maturity that you see in her skating, her dress was gorgeous. The program is gorgeous. She's back up. Do you think this season
I thought that she added some refinement to her skating.
Yeah.
I really think that she looks more confident now than she did before. I wasn't sure how she was going to look because when we talked to Miki Ando a couple months ago, she said, I think she's still trying to get the triple axel back. So I wasn't sure how ready Mao Asada was going to look. And
but she was skinny.
Really
Remember?
Incredible.
Yeah, Miki said she's skinny.
Yeah. That is clearly the most important. Well, remember we had this exchange with Gracie Gold. We were standing at the rink. Gracie was annoyed when people say that skating isn't their whole life. And she said, what do you mean? I'm in this. I'm here. This is my job. I want to win the world championships. And I said, that's right, Gracie Gold. Your job is to be skinny, be pretty, and do clean longs in that order. And she was like, exactly. So that is really the name of the game in figure skating. I thought Mao looked incredible. And I think that again, with the maturity, the skating like a woman, she's more refined. And I saw some more emotion in her. And I thought that she looked really happy to be back, which I didn't necessarily see from Yuna Kim when she came back a couple years ago. It looked like Mao has missed this. We know Mao is a competitor. She's gone for 2 triple axels in the Olympic Games in a free skate. She's bombed the short, come back in the long. I really think her heart is in this. And I thought it was interesting to see how Tuktamysheva responded.
I do too. And you know, there were some positive moments in Tuktamysheva. She did place third. Satoko Miyahara placing second here. We'll talk about her in a second. But I think we talked about in that head-to-head matchup show that we did that we didn't know which one was going to have the edge. And I think this really, heading into the season at least, solidified Mao as the woman to kind of chase at this point. Positives by Tuktamysheva. I like the dress, but it seems like they could get rid of about 4 inches of fabric on that skirt. I mean, she has nice legs. She can show it off. And a lot of her program, it just comes across as skate in a circle, and it's the Russian technique. And I know she needs it at the beginning for her triple axel, but we see into kind of the triple loop, the triple sow. It's a lot of just circle in the middle. Not a lot of transitions either. Heading into both of those triplettes, it's a whole just skating straight down the ice. Gorgeous jumps, but these are the areas of her skating to get her back up. When you compare her to someone like Mao, these are the categories where Mao I give her the check, 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 that it's just world-class quality, both of them, but I think Mao has the edge.
There are times when Tuktamysheva does difficult steps, but she doesn't get the ride of the edge during her footwork, and she doesn't...
Or she falls at the end because she gets so into it. That happened here.
There's a lot of manic arms going on. There were some...
I appreciate that. Yeah, like she's getting into it, but it's almost... It's too little, too late. It's like all the technical stuff is done, and now she's going to turn it on a la Oda O 2013-14 season, but it's a little much.
It made me wonder about her. Before, earlier, years ago, there was a gymnast that I knew that could only really turn it on when she knew that she was going to win, that she believed she was the best. And Kim Zmaska was kind of like that too. If she got a little nervous, the mistakes crept in. And I was wondering if Tuktamysheva was a little bit nervous with Mao being back and looking so good in the practices. Because last year, if Tuk skated well, almost every single time she was going to win, depending on the field. And it just looked like maybe a little bit of the confidence was gone. Maybe the triple axel wasn't as consistent as she would like in practice. Overall, great job. Third place, not a disaster. Obviously something to build on going forward. She did triple-double the Rosano. Noticed it, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, those little things where you would have seen last season, she was skating without the pressure. She was skating as someone who has something to prove for herself. And I think this season it'll just be interesting to see how she continues to improve. The little mistakes. No.
I'm telling you, it's not that she has pressure. It's going to be a work season. This is going to define her as an athlete, which is fine. Life is not an undefeated season every single year. That just doesn't happen. So I think
Megan and Eric, Jillian and Bob. I know they're a little afraid about that. Yeah.
But they have a rough season ahead of them too. But if you're an athlete and you're a competitor, you thrive on that. So I think that it's going to be really interesting to see her at the next event, how she responds, how prepared she is, and maybe it'll fire her up a little bit.
Well, talking about a woman who was prepared, Satoko Miyahara, I was texting Dave when I was watching this, and it just seems like Satoko is the most trained athlete out there. I mean, there is never any issues in terms of stamina. She goes out every time. She does her job. We saw last season, if there's a little bobble here or there, she gets back into it, gets back on it. Everything is just so polished and pristine and precise. The spins are phenomenal. I thought this was a great victory for her. She's showing what I talked about last week, that these women, they need to be consistent. If you're somebody who doesn't have the highest jumps or you're known for being the best, you see her PCS is gaining. She got mostly 8s here. And that's changing the perception in the eyes of the judges. When they can start to rely on you as someone who's going to go out every time and do clean or relatively clean, you get yourself bumped up a little bit in the standings.
It's what the American ladies need to do at this point because they don't have the triple axels. And I think anyone who doesn't have that triple axel, you need to go out and be consistent. And that's how you're going to win a world medal because not everyone is consistent at the end of the year. So if you have that season where you do well every single time, your marks will go up and they will increase because perception becomes reality and everything like that. And it's it's a subjective sport. So I really thought I think she's moving very well. I think she's becoming more confident. And that's the thing too about having a consistent season. When you become more confident, you are able to perform more, you're able to project more, you're able to get into it, give a little sass, give a little bit extra each time. And I think that's something that Satoko will be able to do, and I would like to see our American ladies do that if they can start being consistent.
Well, that's the thing, too, from watching these women in practice last week, Gracie and Ashley, they can do all of these jumps. And any skater who goes out to perform at this level, you can do all the jumps. And it's the skaters that are able to do it time after time, so when the lights go on, you can just trust yourself that you can put it together. Before heading on and discussing the American women, because I know we have a lot to say there, let's briefly talk about Sotnikova. Some great moments. Sotnikova.
She's moving beautifully in a way. I think that the program goes on a little bit long. There needs to be some bigger jumps towards the end because the music is getting really big. I mean, you're only giving me a double axel at the end and some spirals. The program is a bit front-loaded like a Plashenko 2006. I think that we need to move things around. She is getting back into form. 4 triples, not the strongest effort. Some pops here. Overall, she looks better. I don't really know if I expect her to compete the rest of the season.
I was going to say, do you think this is a one-time deal? I mean, are we going to see her in a month or two? Is she slated for Grand Prix?
I don't know. She's worked awfully hard to get back.
Yeah.
I don't think that she is slated for Grand Prix. I was checking her Wikipedia. Yeah, I'm confused.
And the thing is, there are some great moments. The triple Lutz is huge, phenomenal, but she's just not, we talk about consistency, she just doesn't have the stamina or the range of elements to compete with these top women, but she's improved. In a weird way, I enjoy watching her skating now more than when she won the Olympic title, but it's not up to par, I think, with the other women in the world. And I don't just
enjoy her because I don't think she has a chance. I legitimately think
I think she's
better.
Yeah, she looked better. The speed across the ice, she's skating a little bit more with polish and maturity, and I don't know, but it just didn't seem like she's Grand Prix ready. Let's discuss
She doesn't look Lutz toe ready. I think, she's doing a great triple. She's not triple Lutz, triple toe ready. Neither are the American ladies. Oddly, well, I have thoughts on both of them. We watched them train. I have a lot of thoughts on this. I have to say, I really think that Ashley Wagner competed exactly how she trained.
That's what I was going to say. This was not a disaster. This is, I mean, and you could see it in her face when she finished. She was kind of like, okay, yeah.
The triple flip, triple toe, if you go back and you watch our footage, you go back, it was about 50-50, I think, on that, if that toe was around or not.
Did you think it looked around to me.
No. The replay that the Japanese TV did was pretty damning. Okay. And then the Sal, we saw her under rotating that. They were working on that. Raphael was screaming at her about that all day when we were there. Raphael was putting on a show for us. And that, that seems to be an area that she has under rotated in the past. They have to keep working on that technique. I think it'll get better as the season goes along. Ashley is behind. She told us that her stamina was the issue. She did so many shows this summer. She's just not ready for this point in the season. And I think that's fine. I think she's trying to peak later. They've said that she's had issues maintaining her level throughout the season. But you look at how Satoko Miyahara does. I kind of think that Ashley needs to have her stuff ready now. She needs to be consistent every time.
Yeah, she's not a Tuktamysheva heading into the season where you can kind of give her like, okay, a mulligan or whatever it's called, like where you're like, okay, you have one where you're getting your legs back underneath there. And we gave her that last year at this competition where it's after the Olympic season you have that.
Actually, we didn't, and she unfollowed us. But
well, I mean, I think many people did. They kind of said it wasn't good, but it was understandable that after an Olympic season, you need one competition to get yourself back into it. After Worlds, I don't know, I feel like she should have come out and just been a little bit more trained. This wasn't a disaster by any means, but not that declaration you want to make at the beginning of a season where you're fighting to make that World podium. Conversely, Gracie.
Wait. Alexis Samaka is going to love this moment, but I just have to say, Ashley's reds don't match, Jenny.
I texted you that, yes. It's here's the thing, it's a statement. If you're going to have red hair, get a white dress. Don't ever stay in the same kind of color. Like, if I were to wear a yellow dress, I'd look silly. It would be two different color yellows. Like, you should stay away from as much contrast as possible. I understand you're not going to get a new dress for this competition, but yeah, it was distracting. And it takes away from the gorgeous brightness of the red of the hair and the brightness of the red of the dress. Pick a red and stay with it.
Or a black dress. Slimming, always good.
You know what would look great for this program? Like kind of like my Roxy dress, like a gold, just sequins dress. Because Satine didn't wear black a lot in the movie, but she did wear kind of like a gunmetal type dress. So just FYI, go fund me. All right, let's talk about Gracie because this is an issue. We posted on our website on YouTube 2 clean long programs that Gracie did the day when we were in LA. This girl, and this is what we've heard
and she did another clean long on the Monday before she left, and then she did one program with one mistake. So she was physically 100%
and that's what we hear over and over again. And just watching her, she is arguably, I would say, one of the most talented just female athletes I've ever seen. The way when you just see her skating around the ice, she's far more, in my opinion, physically talented in terms of a skater than someone like Ashley. And I think they both work hard, but I think Gracie, just watching her train, she seems to train even harder. This is an issue. She talked about having a rough time at the Pasadena competition last week in the long program and how upset she was and how she was going to fight for it. I don't know what happened here, and it just seems like she's so in her head. And one of the things you guys will see in our interview, great interview, but I talked to you after and I said, in my opinion, Gracie is a better skater than she thinks she is, and Ashley thinks she's a better skater than she actually is. And they're both great, but that's my perception is instead of going to a Soul Cycle class on a Friday night after you do 3 sessions and you do 2 clean long programs, she should be going to work with a sports psychologist. She should be going someplace her body's in fine shape. She doesn't need to sweat off any body fat. She's perfect. She's beautiful. She needs to go somewhere and have her thoughts inundated with positivity, with I believe in myself. I mean, whether it's mantras, whether it's some sort of a psychologist, because this girl has everything it takes to not only be world champion, Olympic champion, a star. She's phenomenal. She's a really nice girl. It's heartbreaking to watch something like this, and it's frustrating.
It's interesting. I was really curious how she was going to do, and everyone was posting comments or saying, well, she's inconsistent. And I thought, well, the last 2 years, you have to look at it. She switched coaches 2 years ago, so her training was obviously not where she wanted to be. She was training with ice dancers for a while, not getting the kind of technical. Her life was crazy, and it's hard for your skating to be really consistent. Then she talks about this in the interview, out of shape after the Olympics, going through the post-Olympic struggle. It wasn't there in the training last year. She was missing the Lutz constantly, is what we were hearing. Now she's great in practice. So this is kind of like where the Frank Carroll training comes in. And she did work with a sports psychologist before the Olympics, so I don't know if they still work together or not. That's what they need to focus on at this point. Frank needs to dial this in. The one thing, her Lutz is so big. It is a little crazy sometimes with the arms. She talked about Frank trying to control that Lutz. The first one looked crazy. I thought it was smart that she thought on her feet and didn't go for the arms over the head. I just wonder if she's someone who takes the whole season to believe in herself, and is she someone who kind of needs that adversity to fire her up, or is she just used to having it? Because obviously before Frank, I imagine she had a lot of adversity on a daily basis with Alex. I imagine he yelled at her like Evie Scaffold to fire her up, and that Frank Carroll is not that person. He's tough, but he is not going to scream at you before you go on the ice. So she has to kind of find that steadiness inside her and that inner belief that she is great. And again, I don't think that she always believes that. And when she's a talented girl and there are two girls doing triple axels, maybe that kind of, you think, maybe I don't have enough in my program. Maybe I do need that. The thing is that Gracie is good enough right now. She could have finished in second in this competition.
Oh, yeah. Easily, and really a strong way to start. And I think for someone like Frank, it's a tough situation because she's trained. She has the technique. Yeah, maybe little things she needs to be reminded on, tweaked about her triple S, but we saw her do triple F. I mean, this girl works so hard and she's so good.
A lot harder than Ashley.
Yeah, and just is so physically talented. She was throwing in, let's try a triple south, triple toe, just to try it. Never really works on it, goes and does the first one she tries. I mean, just such an athlete and a great mind in terms of training and practice that someone like Frank, I mean, even more than a session on the ice, he should work on her off the ice, just getting her to really believe in herself. Because she said even before her national title that she won 2014, she was a nervous wreck. She said there were times, I don't want to give away the interview, but it was difficult for her to believe in herself. And I want her to find that again because she's so talented.
Yeah, I think she said that Frank told her that she was going to be national champion every single day that year. I think she has to do that. Honestly, I think that if it were just Gracie against Ashley, that Gracie would have come out and killed it this week. I believe that Gracie thinks that she is the better skater. I wouldn't say that she's the better performer because Ashley, even with the falls, really still gives it. The judges didn't think so, giving her sixes in components, by the way. And again, that's what happens when you repeat a program and it doesn't have any
and I know everyone loves this Ashley program, and I really like it. And I know Shay talked about it when we interviewed her, that there's that moment in the middle where she's supposed to just be a woman and not really a performer and just kind of let her hands down. It looks a little like she's going to skate off the ice. Like, it looks like, I'm like, wait, does she not know she's performing? Like, there's a way to give it a little bit more, and I think because the transitions in that section are a little meager, it comes across like that. I don't think
she fell right before the one section where there are transitions, where she's doing the steps that are going against the movement that she's doing in the circle, where she's doing the opposite way, and she fell on the cell, and that's where those steps come in. So they are supposed to rework the program after this competition.
Maybe dress too. Go find me.
I just worry about keeping a program the second time because people are never as excited the second year. Even if you do it really, really well, it's hard to get that same magic in a bottle back. But it's the strategy. I think they're sticking with it. It is a good program for her, but she's going to need to add some transitions and really dial it in. I do think that Ashley will show up to her Grand Prix events more dialed in. She seems to be trying to pace herself. Yeah,
and by no means was this weird. Yeah, or different than how she had been practicing. With someone like Gracie, it's more of what are we, like, let's make a plan here, honey, because this was not so
good. The components for Sotnikova a little out of control, I have to say. I didn't expect her to place as high as she did, given what she did.
She's Olympic champion, Dave Lease.
Yeah, and she performed like she did 4 triples. Yeah, it was a little...
In your opinion.
But I thought, in my opinion. But let's move on to the men, because this was very interesting. Shoma Uno skating so well. Love him, hate the costume. And Jenny, I get so nervous with that landing position every single time.
The triple axel, triple toe. The knees are great, but it's so far open.
The Lutz is really open too. But magnificent skating.
Oh, just the
Magnificent.
way he moves his body and the transition into the back sit after the triple axel, triple toe. I posted a little clip on our Instagram. I agree about the costume. I'm never a fan of green on the ice, except Jason's river dance. I thought that worked. But I mean, he's such a great skater. Do you think Hanyu should be worried at this point?
Not yet. I think Hanyu should have enough confidence that he is good, but Hanyu has to keep working. I thought that I actually would be more nervous about Javier because I think that Javier looks more mentally present. I think he's gained a lot of confidence from being, I know he waxeled, but to me, he's gained more confidence. He looked more polished than usual. The skating skills look a little bit better. It's a good long program for him. I wasn't cringing at the stickiness at any moment. I see that you don't agree.
I was going to say, I respectfully disagree. I think they don't push him to be as good as he can be. How many times in the program does he skate like this? How many times does he do back crossover? Go watch it, people. This is not choreography.
He can't even get to the rink before noon some days. You know,
I think Mickey's been on him because those quads show somebody who's actually been training. But it's year after year, and we talked about it last season. Yes, I think this long program is better than the long program last season, but he's put himself in such a box, and I think he's better than this. We saw it in his short program last season. He can do something that's not comedic, and I would like them to show off his skating. It hides his lack of skating skills. Great thing to do, but you're world champion. When you're competing against someone like Patrick, I think you can bring it a little bit more in the creativity, more than we've seen. I know Javier's going to come out and do a long program like he did here. And it's a good program. It's entertaining. It's fun to watch.
But we know it's coming.
But we know it's coming. And I think he's better than that. That's all I'm saying. But he's still
I think Patrick is better than his program, too. I love Patrick Short. The long, I think, is kind of expected.
Really? See, I disagree on there, too. I think the long is gorgeous. I like that he went for the triple axel. Do you think he needs, no triple here, do you think he needs 2 axles, 2 quads? What's going on here? What is he going to need?
Yes, he needs 2 axles, 2 quads, jump coach, and to keep doing what he's doing otherwise. But I did like that he went for the triple axel because he hasn't doing it that well in practice. And you could tell that the fighter came out after he tripled the quad. And even though the axle was kind of sideways going
He hung on to that, honey.
He hung on to it and he did it. And you saw that Patrick Chan, why he's world champion 3 times over. I mean, he really came out as an athlete. I think against Nam, if Nam does 3 quads, the points are the points in this system. And that's hard because the components shouldn't be the same. But if he doesn't do the axles, and then he has to do it. And I think that he does need someone to consult with on jumps maybe twice a week just to kind of dial in the technique until he gets really steady.
Yeah, I think if he does an axle like he did in this competition, and he did a quad and a triple, he'd be fine. I think he could beat a lot of the men. I think he could beat a Javier, even just because the second mark is so good, the spins are so good, but you can't just do 1 triple axel, and he knows this.
And the hand down on the easy triple.
Yeah, like you can't miss that stuff, and you can't be doubling planned triple toes. I mean, those are the things that you have to go for. Let's talk about, though, boot problems. So Jeremy Abbott, pause. Couldn't he have just worn black pants? I thought it clashed a little bit, kind of the charcoaly pants with the red top with the sequins. I mean, it's just with him, I never quite can get behind the costumes. Great triple axel. But his mom went on Facebook and blamed the pop, lutz, and flip on his blades.
He does have a blade issue, but actually, I heard that at DSC they were more concerned about the triple axel because he has some sort of a blade issue, but it usually was causing him to miss those, but these were fine. I thought Jeremy did a great program. I don't think his mom needs to talk about anything. I thought he did a really great job, and I was thinking, great, Jeremy Abbott looks great right when we want him to come back, and he's not coming back. All these times we're like, when's Jeremy going to do it? Now our men are in trouble. We need Jeremy Abbott back to push these guys. I thought he looks fantastic, more dialed in than usual. Even though he had a couple of mistakes, he was right in there with Patrick Chan. I thought Jeremy looked in good form here, regardless. I don't know. What did you think?
I didn't think so. We were disagreeing today. I thought he looked like he always looked. He's going to pop some triple flip. He's going to pop triple. Let's go do like a really nice triple axel, some phenomenal spins, a pretty program. I mean, he's a gorgeous skater, but he didn't look like, I mean, we'll talk about Jason in a bit, but I didn't think that, have this dire need for him to be at nationals this season. I thought, good for him. That's about what I expected him.
I'm really concerned about our men this season. I'm going to be honest.
I know. I'm concerned about our women, too. I'm concerned about everybody. Not so much our pairs. I feel Alexa, I have faith in her. Let's, though, quickly discuss Brian Joubert, Daisuke Murakami. Thoughts on those two? Great quads by Daisuke.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed too in watching him in training, he's really slow in his footwork sequences. Not so much getting into the jumps. He has a fantastic air position, really good turnout on his camel spin, but he loses me in his short program footwork and also in some of the moments in his long program here. I'm just like, skate, honey, skate. You're so good. Just push a little bit more.
I just get the vibe that Dice is a little bit of a gentler soul. Like when we come to a rink, well, there's usually that nervous look that everyone has when we come in where they look a little panicky.
Really
and some people are like, hi, so nice to meet you. And then you have like Gracie Gold, who's going to do 2 clean longs, even though she usually does 1 of each program a day. And she's going to make sure that you see it because we're there.
Respect, honey, respect.
Yeah, you see some people that kind of maybe are muted and afraid to make mistakes. I just don't think that Dice has that like Hanyu drive that you need to be number 1 in Japanese and men's skating. And I think that's the kind of thing. You say you get a little slower. I think he's a little more cautious. I think he just needs a little bit more of the aggression to let it come out because he's a very talented skater.
Yeah, I see him kind of as a Satoko Miyahara, where if he were to always be consistent, because we know he can do this stuff, he can do a consistent triple axel and quad sow. If he were to come out and every time be consistent like we saw at NHK last season, he'd be in the mix. But when some of the technical stuff starts to falter, he doesn't have the Shoma Uno skating skills that can really back it up. Brian Joubert, a lot of posing, a lot of arms in front of the judges. I mean, is this 2006? It felt like we were watching him again. Great to see him back on the ice, as cute as ever, but...
Cute as ever. Not his thing.
He has a really nice personality. Let's talk about the Shibutanis, Dave. All right, so people, so there was another event that went on this weekend. Ondrej Nepela. Let's discuss.
I feel so bad about the Shibutanis.
Okay, let's talk about them because they won the short dance here. She's a doll. Don't know how I feel, but he has long hair now. He sells it as much as ever. Great twizzles. But dropping to 3rd in the free dance, this Coldplay free dance. What do you think about their performances?
It was funny. I didn't really think about the song. Initially, all summer, I thought, Coldplay, oh, that's unique. That's a little bit more modern.
Ricky Dornbush.
Yeah, I kind of forgot what Fix You sounded like. And it reminded me, when I was in college, I always used to put on Grey's Anatomy, and I used to kind of fall asleep to it. And it was really like my show that I would go take a nap in the afternoon and just feel like, like warm and fuzzy, and Meredith would be like awful. And like they used to play Coldplay all the time, and it was like slow, and it's a really rainy day here on the East Coast with these storms coming. So I just think it's a little bit of a snooze. I think the music doesn't allow them to really come alive, even though...
And they try to get angsty at the beginning.
She's giving you angsty hair.
Yeah, and they're wearing like almost the black tango costumes, but it just looks like she's checked out halfway through the program, and they're such good kids. And I feel like Marita's checked out. She wasn't even at this event. This was not good.
This was not good. And again, a junior team from Maryland did outscore them. It's just, it's concerning. Nice kids. I think
really
they work
smart,
hard.
Sweet kids who work
Something
hard.
is not going right. And they could do different Coldplay songs, I think would be better.
Something more fun, I think.
Yeah.
And Alex likes to perform so much. It just was so flat and kind of died off.
The one song is such a no. I think a Coldplay medley would be better.
Yeah, something like to pick it up at the end, but when the end dies, we die with it.
It's just the middle died too. It was, I don't know. It's just, to me, the ice dance event was not my favorite at this competition, keeping it real.
What about Piper and Paul's free dance? Because that's something, I don't get it. Call me blonde, call me dense. Please explain it to me. I don't. They stay true to character. Her dress isn't bad.
Another thing about the Shibutanis that we talk about things to look at, I noticed that their hold looks like it gets more and more open every season. You're not supposed to see a lot of white space between them. And I do notice that their holds look a little like they're getting easier. Because obviously the closer you skate together, the more difficult it is.
You have to kind of grab.
You have to kind of punch on your partner there. And they have some...
Do you think it's the brother and sister weird...
Maybe they're done with each other.
Yeah, they're just like, I don't want to hold my sister anymore.
I don't know what's going on. I just, Piper and Paul, not a fan of the program. They're trying to do something different, but I think sometimes there's only so many different things you can do when you don't have the classical extension. it's not my cup of tea. I was much more interested in the pair event here and the singles.
Let's discuss the pair event because Stolboven came up second in both portions of the competition, winners overall. What do you think about them? He did a Rosano with a double toe. Did you see that? But
yes,
she did not.
They looked to me to be on a downward spiral, and I don't know if it's because
she cut
Tatiana
her hair. It's a bad hairdo. I don't love it.
It's Samson and Delilah. I don't know. He cut his hair and losing his magic. The thing is, there's a real coldness between them on the ice, and the music is kind of cold, and I don't know if they're losing some confidence with Tatiana and Max back. She missed her jumps here. It just looks like they're missing confidence or missing momentum, and I'm getting concerned about where this is going because it looks like they might just like piece out the second half of the season again. I don't know, there's a strange vibe on the ice. The skating's not horrible, but it's not inspired, and technically it's okay. The twist is issueless when they go for the triple. It's just, everything just looks like a struggle this season.
And I wrote good, not spectacular. It's good. But, I mean, if they're going to contend, they were so up there in terms of contending to be the best in the world halfway through the season last year. Do they need a throw quad? I mean, do they need something? I see they're doing the Rosano with a double toe. What is it going to take? Because the programs aren't singing to me this season.
I think they are going to need, the difficult elements, the good twist. They really have to work on that twist and work on everything and consistency and maybe go back to an old program because they really need to put something together. It's going to be hard to make that podium this year. There are a lot of really good pairs, numerous teams in Canada that are very, very good, numerous teams in China that are very, very good, numerous Russian teams that are good. You have Alexa and Chris. To even keep your spot, you really have to deliver something more than you did before. It's tough. Do you think Tarasova and Morozov are better? Do you think Goshtakova and Roganov are better? What do you think?
I thought Tarasova and Morozov looked good. Again, she had some issues with the jumps in the free program. They're a good team. He's a very good skater. I enjoy watching them. They're boring as heck sometimes. I mean, we talked about it last season that they needed a little better packaging, a little better program. I like it. I think there's great quality to their skating, but it's not like when I watch a Sui and Han short program this season or their long, or even Megan and Eric short. There's that X factor. I don't see it yet with their skating, but everything's very good.
Yeah.
With both teams. What do you think?
Both teams. Yeah, Ashtakova, I guess this is the year of the doll. We're redoing Mariah Nagasu's 2008 free skate again and again, and Esaplan Maya Shibutani in the short dance. Seen it before. It's a little weird in like the quirky kind of works way. It kind of doesn't, but not my personal cup of tea, but they're a good team. Again, it's going to be really difficult to make the Russian world team. There are about 5 or 6 teams that can make it. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen. Dylan and Luba here, again, he kind of pulled the Alexis Samaka where he went on Facebook and, not the programs we wanted, but really excited for the Grand Prix to start. Jenny, I can't with skaters. You just went out there. You didn't skate well. We don't need a message of like hope and everything.
What did you talked about his kiss and cry at Four Continents last year.
It's just like if I messed up, I am getting to work. Okay.
Yeah, you don't need I don't think it deserves, you can thank your fans for the support, but I think the more honest you are, the better. They should be concerned. They can't do a really great split twist. They're trying to throw quadlets that looks like they've never attempted it before. That
People
was a
say
bad
that they
ball.
haven't landed it before.
Yeah, why would you put that in your program? Why? I know that, he's very competitive. She has trouble with the side-by-side jumps, but
he is very competitive. And that came across in our interview with him. I just think you're a second-year team. There's still so much to work on before you put in.
And there's still a lot of good that we see. I love their entrance into their death spiral in the short program. And I think they're skating better. There's a great connection between them. His posture looks better. Still needs to turn out his camel spin, leg on the camel spin. But instead of doing something like that, have a great throw triplet. She's still kind of iffy on the jumps. I mean, focus on getting that confidence up and working on things like the split twist, which I know they're probably working on. But I don't know. I don't
think the quad is ready, and I think at this point, when you're a second-year team, there's still logistically so much. We saw Kirsten and Michael. We saw Marissa and Mervyn. There's still things that you need to work out as yourself.
It's going to take some time, and
if you're a second-year team like Valentina and Andre, don't go skating to the Bee Gees.
Pause! What in the bodegas is that? If anyone can pull it off, it's her. Love the little dance moves they do at the end. But honey,
What is the theme of the program?
it's probably 70s, right? Because it's like a mashup
What,
of
like
70s. People
random 70s? I feel like we're driving and like flipping the radio.
That's kind of, it's in my mind, this is her vision of life. She just seems a little bit like, in the best way ever, all over the place. And I feel like she has Ondrej by the cojones, and he's going to do what she wants to do.
Apparently, she was a big rival with his former partner. They were battling it out in the singles, and she kind of pushed her aside to team up. Apparently, there's a very interesting backstory that's going on in Italian.
We need to interview her again. She was one of my favorites. We loved her.
One of the favorites.
But I think, back to Nilamabad, they're a great team. Just like we talk about some of these other teams, it just takes some time to get it all together. Talking about time, let's just discuss Jason Brown winning here. Second in the short program. Winning that long program, it looked better than when we were there visiting in Colorado.
That's the thing that I thought about with Jason, is that Corey Ade's kids were struggling when we were in Monument, being honest. And not so much in isolation, but when they put the programs together, they were struggling. She said that they were keeping in all of the choreography. There was talk about Jason's diet, experimenting with it over the summer to work on muscle.
And that's kind of what happens.
The summer is about. The one thing Raphael said in our interview with him that really stuck with me is he said that in America, if you are a skater, you kind of make yourself great. He's like, the coach has a big part in it, but he said in Russia, it's like a factory and they just churn out good skaters. But he's like, in America, it's really the individual that kind of rises up to the top. And I thought Jason had a really rough summer, really rough, but it looks like he's turning the corner. Yes, the quad was under. Yes, all of the axles were under. However, Jason, when we saw him in an exhibition, which was shortly after Glacier Falls, it looked like the wheels were falling off of the bus. Apparently, Champs Camp was the same, but it looks like the last couple of weeks he landed that quad. We saw it on Instagram, and it looks like Jason Brown has shown up to compete. It's the fall. He knows he has to do it. He does have that competitive desire, and it looks like he's willing himself to really get it together. I like the program. I don't love the programs. And I wanted to ask you about his skating skills, because one thing that I noticed is that we watched their edge class. And I thought that it looked like fun. And then I was like, but why is Jason in the same edge class with a 7-year-old? Because Jason needs to be working on more power, deeper edges, more efficient stroking. And yes, we put on Beyonce and we all skate and we all, get some extension and we work on that in the class. But Jason's at a higher level. Mariah Bell's at a higher level. I don't think that they're necessarily being pushed in that edge class as much as maybe they need to. Maybe have 2 different levels of edge class. Maybe have 3 different levels. But it just looks like there's so much of the 7K program that's about all togetherness, and maybe it needs to be a little bit more individualized for certain skaters, because he's competing against Patrick Chan. You watch Patrick Chan's skating skills. Corey told us that this program is supposed to be all about skating skills. And they kind of mask it, because you see Jason.
So many transitions and gorgeous spirals and lines.
Spirals and a lot of the leg up, but what is he doing on the ice? And how deep is that edge? And how powerful is that edge? And it's gorgeous. The audience seems to really love it. I don't get a story in the program. I think the story is that he's a pretty skater and that this is nice music. But to me, it's not as captivating as programs he's done in the past. It's a good program. Again, I'm constantly stacking where does everyone fit, because there are a lot of talented people. Shoma Uno moving up, Nam Nguyen moving up with all of the quads, Patrick Chan back. So I think with Jason, it's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully he can continue to work on those triple axles. A little concerning that those weren't around at this point.
Well, I think Jason is kind of somebody like a Gracie who needs to kind of believe it before he sees it. I mean, any skater does, but it seems like he takes a little bit of time where he needs that moment where he actually shows himself that he can do it under pressure. And usually that happens before nationals, and then he shows up at nationals and he's really ready to go. They put a ton of transitions in these kids' programs, and it's fantastic, but understandably, it's going to take a little bit of time, particularly into that second triple axel where he's going forward. It takes a little bit of time, and I think confidence. I expect him to be better during the Grand Prix.
I do too.
I think the program, I like what they're doing. We talked about it with Javier, that get him out of the box. I like that they're doing something that's pushing him as a skater. I think he can have a moment at the end with the spiral if he does a clean performance. I was having thoughts of, okay, this is where at Nationals, at Worlds, if he makes it in Boston, like that's where the audience is really going to be behind him, particularly if he gets that quad. Looked better than his other attempts in the past. I see the positive here. I wish that this was kind of his performance maybe at Glacier as opposed to here. I think he's a little bit behind the 8-ball, but I'm not panicked. I'm not worried. I was actually pleased with how he performed here when you think about how he was skating just a month and a half ago.
What do you think about Mariah Bell and her performance here?
Okay, so she is at a point in her career where she cannot fall 2 times in a short program. You cannot fall in your double axel. You can do a double axel. And we actually, when she did her short program run through and we were visiting, she fell in the double axel. It's okay if that happens and you have to come back and really fight in the long program. The fact that that didn't happen, I'm concerned for her.
I'm concerned about the back-to-back poor international events going into the Grand Prix.
Yes.
And I hope they figure out whatever it is, whatever
she
change
can
they need to
do it. And that's when we talk about all these women like the Gracies, the Ashley. We saw them do all these elements in isolation and practice. We even saw them do it with the music. So the fact that it's something about getting under pressure, I don't know if she feels by adding the triple, it's a little bit in over her head. But when we interviewed her, she talked about how the triple lutz is her best jump. The one in the short program, it looked like she wasn't even close to landing it.
I think the edge is becoming an issue, and it looks like it's one of those things where it slides over time, and you have to keep...
Yeah, and missing both lutzes at U.S. International Figure Skating Classic. And here, I mean, that's an issue. And it's an issue where she needs to go back. And I would say whether it's taking out transitions or working just... Corey talked about in her interview that working just with a technical coach, doing that over and over again. She does her programs. I don't think stamina is an issue, but she needs to work on that technique.
Her feet are a little slow in the air. This is pointed out, and I agree, watching it closely. She kind of gets in, and the feet are the last thing to kind of go.
Yeah,
so
it seems like she's a long-limbed woman, and she doesn't really have that tight core, that tight control over her body.
I know. I want to take her to the bar method because it's all about like from here to there. And I think she needs to come to New York and just do the bar method every day and just really focus on that core because she's like the female Evan Lysacek where
it's long and skinny and and she needs.
You're bringing in the limbs and wrapping, and you need to snap and.
That quick rotation. Let's talk, though, quickly about our Russian women. Pogorelaya, 9th in the short program, coming back to win the long program. Impressed with her? Have you seen improvement in her skating, Dave?
I mean, she did good long. We didn't see that at the World Championships when she was injured. Not my favorite skater. Looks like she is in okay form. The other Russian skater, though, Jenny, is why does Medvedeva...
See, I love it. I love it. I hate the costume in the long program, and I hate the hand over the head, but I love, she's always got a story to tell me. I love my little Russian girls with the stories. She's my new favorite.
They're here today, they're gone tomorrow.
There's no technique. It's so circular, but she's consistent as all get up, and I could see her kicking Radionova off one of those podium slots if she skates well. Pogorelaya, honey, straighten your leg. Go to ballet class. A gorgeous girl. The program, everything is the same as I saw last season. Even the triple S, triple toe. Pause. This was the competition, and it makes me really annoyed. They always have the camera. You're looking down at everybody. Like, I just want to be ice level with these people. But the
competition, the camera at this event is always...
It makes you a little nauseous. Like, you're just annoyed. You want them to zoom a little bit more. A good skate for both of them. Promising.
And how about your crush winning his 2nd Junior Grand Prix? Your little Nathan Chen love.
I mean, he just gets into that short program. We all got to have a crush on him. He works very hard. People talking about watching them practice. Doing really well, landing 2 quads.
What do you think works harder, Vincent or Nathan? Who makes you more nervous with that amount of work ethic?
I actually think Nathan, because Vincent's like circling. Nathan doesn't circle people. He doesn't pop. He's all in on those quads and that triple axel and the program again and again and again. And I like that Raphael said that they had the option of sending him to some of the easier Junior Grand Prix. And he said, no, I want to send him to the hardest ones because if you're going to go to the final, you want to know that you faced all these guys. You're not going to the final to play 6. You're going to the final to win. I mean, I like that mentality. Good job.
Also, Parabens to Tessa Hong. On her Junior Grand Prix debut. Very strong moment here. So, Jenny, what was your moment of the week?
Oh, I haven't even thought about this. Oh, pause. Okay, it's Mao Asada's comeback, people. I mean, just that long program, coming out with a triple axel, saying, "Hey guys, I'm back." Maybe you're known as the lady who has the axel, but I always had it first. Like, take a seat. What did Madonna say? Get off my pole. How about your moment of the week, Dave, please?
I have to say my moment of the week, Mao Asada's comeback. I think we were all waiting for it.
Parabens.
Even from the practice videos, you just knew that it was going to be a good event for Mao. So exciting to see. It really makes this season so interesting to shake things up, and I think exactly what the sport needs. So yeah, we want to remind you to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Do you know what we need? Pause. So our goal before the Grand Prix was to get 10,000 followers on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and you made it happen.
Yeah, but I want 12 on Facebook before Skate America.
Okay, and I'm at 10.1, so I do the Instagram. Dave does the other two. So subscribe to our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter. We love you. Tell us what you would like us to post. We want that interaction with you, and we thank you for your support.
Yeah, so as always, we want to remind you that when you are a Russian lady, you look like you are lost in thought. Throw your arm over your head. Straighten your leg.
Straighten your leg.
Hold an edge.
And look sexy. Bye, guys.